Good day everyone. We are Group 9. In this presentation, you will know about environmental ethics preferred by our group. Objectives. The learners should be able to understand the new subdiscipline of philosophy that deals with ethical problems surrounding environmental protection. Second is to appreciate the environmental ethics to keep sustainable. Lastly, is to formulate the plans or recommendation to provide moral policies aimed at protecting the Earth's environment and remedying environmental degradation. Definition of terms: aesthetic value, the value attributed to work of art. Atmosphere, a distinctive but intangible quality surrounding a person or thing. Atmosphere really connected to environmental ethics. Too much pollution causes a toxic society and produces crime. Climate, the weather in some location average over some long period of time. Changing climate affects ecosystems in a variety of ways. Ecosystem, a community of plants, animals, and other organisms together with the non-living components of their environment. Human, a human being, especially a person distinguished from an animal. In science fiction, an alien. Nature, the phenomena of the physical world collectively, including plants, animals, the landscape, and other features and products of the earth as opposed to humans or human creations. Mental ethics is the discipline in philosophy that studies the moral relationship of human being to and also the value of moral status of the environment and its human contents. The study of environmental ethics became an official discipline in the 1970s. During this, experts sought to understand how technology, commercial, industry, and the growing global population had and would continue to have an impact on the environment. Individuals have continued to work toward understanding how these human-related factors will have a long-term impact on the environment, non-renewable resources, climate change, rising sea levels, loss of biodiversity, and other issues. While the discipline of environmental ethics examines the ethical obligations humans have to earth, human values also play an important role. If people don't place any value on the environment, they will not likely get involved with movements such as conservation and preservation. It's only when people understand and care about matters such as water and air pollution or the destruction of ecosystem that they'll make an effort to understand and implement environmental ethics. Sustainability and environmental issues make up a significant aspect of human life. So, understanding the importance of environmental ethics can benefit both human and environment. At its core, environmental ethics can be defined as the philosophy study that examines the ethical relationship of humans and the environment. The philosophy also explores the moral relationship humans have with earth, animals, and plants. Environmentalists, sustainability specialists, and other experts seek to understand whether humans have an ethical responsibility to take care of the environment, and if so, to what extent. Many interpret the environment even wider to include the built surrounding within which humans live, so that ethical concern for the environment is seen also to include consideration of the aesthetic, cultural, historical, and spiritual values that humans important aspect of non-human nature. Environmental ethics thus has to do with the duty of care that we have for the environment in an all-encompassing sense, the earth as a whole, or whole of the community of life, including the ecosystemic and other processes, for instance, the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, that sustain this community of life. A collective effort is required for solving environment-related problems. Every individual must contribute in this noble cause. The government must frame policies so as to reduce environmental emissions. The use of sustainable technology can be quite beneficial that can be promoted through research and development activities. The corporates should also take initiatives in this regard. In overall, we as human beings must act responsibly at local and international levels. Review of related literature. In this first literature, it refers to the main cause or problems of our environmental crisis, mistaken about values and attitude, according to Blackstone, 1970. Second one, Sipil 2003, he refers about environmental pollution that defined as the ecological hazards produced by the human beings. The last literature, according to Paul Ehrlich, 1968, the pollution bomb warned of the devastating effect the spiraling human pollution has on the planet's resources.
The picture shows us how people react when it's come to environmental issues. Things like water and air pollution, the use of natural resources, loss of biodiversity, destruction of ecosystems, and global climate change are all part of the environmental ethics debate. Environmental ethics believe that humans are a part of society as well as other living creatures, which includes plants and animals, but it is essential that every human is being respected and honored. This use of moral and ethics when dealing with this creature, but if you still don't understand, I have another rule of environmental ethics in society. The purpose of environmental ethics is that they maintain to provide moral grounds for social policies aimed at protecting the earth, environment, and setting environmental humanization, shame right, ethical debates, impact our ability to solve environmental problems because individuals have different viewpoints. It's help define man's moral and ethical obligation toward the environment and establish field of practical philosophy which reconstruct the essential type of argumentation that can be made for protecting natural entities and the sustainable use of natural resources.
Conclusion. Environmental ethics believes in the ethical relationship between human beings and natural environment. Environmental ethics says that one should base their behavior on a set of ethical values that guide our approach toward the other living beings in nature. Environmental ethics is about including the rights of non-human animals in our ethical and moral values. Even if the human race is considered the primary concern of society, animals and plants are in no way less important. Two levels of ethics are most prevalent: descriptive ethics and prescriptive ethics. Prescriptive ethics deals with moral issues in the conventional sense of that term, that is, with questions of right and wrong, duties and rights, justice and injustice, virtue and weakness, and so forth. In particular, a new environmental ethic may have to challenge four basic traditions. Environmental ethicists have pushed at the boundaries of ethics, motivated by what seems to have been viewed as their primary mission, developing and clarifying the ethical relationship between humankind and nature. Their efforts have prompted ethical theorists to think more deeply about environmental concerns, especially wilderness, species, natural processes, and the moral status of life, especially non-human life. Environmental ethics contributions to the debate about safe pollution control policy are less obvious unless reruns of familiar ethical themes about the rules of markets and government in public life count. The new insights about the value of extending human life owe more, I think, to medical ethics than to environment ethics. Not so surprisingly, given the focus on justifying ethical concern of wilderness and ecosystem processes, one of the prominent features of environmental ethics from the beginning has been attacks on anthropocentrism and attempts to develop coherent alternatives. Core projects of environmental ethics are to justify moral commitments to natural processes and wilderness. Yet, there are real difficulties in so doing. Recommendation: get the balance right between humans and other living things in earth like animals and plant. We need to respect one another because we are all parts of ecosystem. Once we neglect Once we neglect the other part of ecosystem, it will affect us all. We might not see in right away, but in the long run, we will feel the bad effects of imbalanced ecosystem. We are not only encourage a division amongst ourselves through the commoditization of in, the world's resources, we encourage a division between man and nature in order to reconstruct our views of nature and understand our place within it. It is important to reconsider our relationship with each other and our surroundings. Develop a clearer knowledge of the distinctions between descriptive and perspective ethics, as well as their respective aims. Environmental economics will help us to understand some important and controversial issues such as climate change policy, nuclear policy, recycling policy, and traffic congestion charging. Reducing the amount of pollution is vital for us as humans and for the future of the earth. We all need to advocate preventing pollution and start recycling and being energy efficient. Human beings and other living creatures depends upon environment and natural surroundings. We can save our environment by pollution control. Laws should be imposed strictly. Restriction on the use of fossil fuels should be imposed. All type of pollution has their kind of negative impact on our environment. We need to fight against pollution to take steps towards a better tomorrow. Sustaining biodiversity on a large scale and through long-term wilderness protection is one of the best and most cost-effective ways to keep biodiversity and ecosystem dynamism in the face of climate change.